Dungeons & Dragons is the most popular tabletop role-playing game in the world, but it's not the only game in town. Hey there, adventurers, I'm Judd, and this is Short Rest Studios. I'm a D&D fan, but there are so many great fantasy role-playing games out there, and there are more coming every day. From grimdark to low or high fantasy to Arthurian mythology, today we're counting down 10 great fantasy tabletop role-playing games, plus one cool mechanic for each one. Full disclosure, I haven't played all these games, but I found something exciting about each one, and that's how I built this list. And you want to stick around to the end because, for my money, the game at the top of the stack beats D&D hands down for sheer fun. First up at number 10, Dungeon World. Fantastic adventure, magic, gods, demons, good and evil, law and chaos, brave heroes venturing into danger in search of gold and glory. Dungeon World is built on the Powered by the Apocalypse system, so it's known for keeping the mechanics simple and keeping the focus on story and action. The idea is that every dice roll leads to some kind of exciting outcome, which means you never hit a dead end. The cool mechanic? World creation. Like most TTRPGs, Dungeon World begins with character creation, but in this case, character creation is world creation. Instead of the lone GM building a whole game world from scratch, some Dungeon World GMs do no pre-game world building at all. The characters your players create and the questions you ask them in the first session build your adventuring world. Number 9 is Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. This TTRPG is, of course, set in the dark and dangerous world of Warhammer. There are orcs, goblins, and all the other monstrous threats you Warhammer fans are familiar with. Essentially, it's a world on the brink of chaos. The cool mechanic? The career system. There are 64 unique careers in the core rulebook that define how your character lives when they're not out gutting orcs. But there are actually paths of advancement through these careers, and when you complete one, you can choose another. For example, if you start out as a boatman, you can become an outlaw or a smuggler. This gives PCs motivations and goals beyond the usual adventuring, creating tons of great story opportunities. Have I shown you a game that's better than D&D yet? Tell me in the comments, and don't forget to hang around for number 1. It blows D&D out of the water. Next up at number 8 is Pendragon from Chaosium. Since I was a kid, I've been fascinated with King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table. Knights of the Round Table! Those Arthurian legends were among my first exposure to fantasy literature. If the idea of role-playing in that world of chivalry and magic gets your juices flowing, Pendragon is going to be right up your alley. Pendragon has won loads of awards over the years. It's known for its innovative game design and for walking the line between realistic feeling brutality and a sort of moral idealism. Players armor up as knights, competing for glory while following the chivalric code. And if you want to go for a campaign of epic length, it even has seasonal adventures that give you the opportunity to run your knight's children. The cool mechanic? Passions. These are sort of defining characteristics for your character, and in situations that involve your passions, you can roll on them to help you succeed against impossible odds. Up next at number 7 is The One Ring. I mean, listen, D&D owes a lot to Lord of the Rings. Really, the whole Western fantasy genre does, but nothing is quite the same as the world and the lore of Middle-earth. So if you've ever wanted to play an RPG in Tolkien's world in an era between The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, this could very well be your game. The cool mechanic? Journeys. With the One Ring's journey mechanic, players assign roles like guide or scout and roll march tests to determine distance covered, with different events and fatigue increasing based on terrain and length of travel. Successful rolls make for faster progress, while a bad roll or entering a predetermined perilous area can lead to dangerous encounters and exhaustion. There is a load of creativity and fun in these games so far, but we're still working our way to the top spot, which is a game that I think blows D&D out of the water. Number 6 on this list is Zweihander. This is one grim and brutal dark fantasy game, and it's powered by a deceptively simple yet very crunchy D100 system. And when I say it's brutal, I mean deadly. Human level characters in Zweihander can take maybe 2 to 3 hits. At that point, they could be instantly killed or permanently maimed. There's very little in the way of regeneration or resurrection powers or even healing. So I mean, if you want to feel like death is a very real possibility for your PCs, check out Zweihander. The cool mechanic, damage. This is one of the primary reasons Zweihander is so brutal. The damage dice explode. You roll a d6 for damage, and any time you roll a 6, you get to roll again and add the values together. That means it is very possible to kill an enemy or your character with 1 hit. Whoa, a samurai, huh? You must be new here. Yep, where'd you come from?
The Short Rest Studio shop.
The Short Rest Studio shop has minis?
All kinds of cool minis. Mind flayers, owlbears, barbarians, rogues, and terrain, and dice towers, and t-shirts, and all kind of cool stuff. Just go to shortreststudios.com and click on shop.
That sounds like a great way to support the channel and get some cool stuff in the bargain.
Another way you can support the channel is by clicking on an affiliate link in the description and buying one of these great games Judd's talking about.
Did he pay you to say that? Thanks, guys. Let's move on to the top 5. At number 5, we have RuneQuest, the second entry from Chaosium on this list. RuneQuest is the game that gave us the percentile-based system known as basic role-playing. Set in the fantasy realm of Glorantha, RuneQuest is a heroic fantasy game where mastery of mystical runes gives your characters some crazy, powerful abilities. RuneQuest emphasizes the influence of gods on mortal affairs. Characters are deeply rooted in their cultures and clans, and the combat system is lethal to say the least. The cool mechanic here is skills. RuneQuest characters are defined by their skills, so instead of being held to a development path by, say, a class, you can train and grow in different skills and make your character's path unique. Coming in at number 4, Blades in the Dark. You take on the role of scoundrels in the haunted industrial fantasy city of Duskvol. You face rival gangs, ghosts, and the city watch as you pull off heists, uncover occult mysteries, and fight for your place in the criminal underworld. Blades in the Dark emphasizes storytelling, and it's known for its fast-paced action. The cool mechanic in Blades in the Dark is flashbacks. For a cost, players can invoke a flashback to roll for an action that happened in the past that impacts their current situation. It's not time travel.
Oh boy.
You can't change something that just happened, but this is a really fun way to gain an advantage or put a new twist on the story. What do you think so far? Do you think one of these games is more fun than D&D? The competition is getting tight, and I'm telling you, you don't want to miss my number 1. Number 3 on our list is Dragonbane. Dragonbane is a reimagined update to a classic Swedish TTRPG and the second game on this list from Free League Publishing. It's designed to be fast-paced and brutally challenging, and at the same time, full of laughs. I mean, the game has a race that looks like a duck, and ducks are just inherently funny. Dragonbane is easy for a GM to prep and run. You can embark on any kind of magical, mysterious journey you can imagine. And bonus, I absolutely love the artwork. The cool mechanic is the rally call. Combat, as I said, is brutal in Dragonbane, and when you get down to 0 HP, you have to roll death saves, and of course, that's all you can do, but your fellow adventurers can use an action to persuade you to rally and keep fighting despite the fact that you can't stand or pick up a sword because you have no arms or legs.
Bite your legs off!
Then you keep making death saves, but you can still fight. You can even try to rally yourself. Number 2 on our list, Shadowdark. If grimdark fantasy with strong horror and survival elements is your jam, if you dig an old school D&D vibe but love streamlined modern rules, the Arcane Library's Shadowdark RPG is the game you're looking for. Shadowdark, I would say, is almost minimalist in its entire approach. The rule set is light and sleek. The fantastic artwork is black and white with a distinct old school vibe. Shadowdark gets back to the dungeon crawling roots of TTRPGs with scrappy adventurers who are constantly one mistake away from doom. The cool mechanic is carousing. Essentially, when your party returns from adventuring, they can pool their money to celebrate. You roll a d8 on a carousing table with a bonus depending on how much money you spend. You can get XP, allies, and brand new story hooks from the outcome. I love it. And finally, in the #1 spot, the game that has knocked D&D from its RPG throne at my table, Dungeon Crawl Classics. Those of you who've watched this channel for any length of time know how much I love DCC. It uses the same core mechanic as D&D 5e, the D20, but in almost every other way, it kicks the fun up about 12 notches. This game takes the fantasy RPG back to its roots, and even the artwork points back to the early days of D&D. DCC trashes the idea of a balanced game in exchange for wild action and crazy magical misfires, and death is always around the corner. I've done a couple of other videos. I've done a couple of other videos on DCC, and I'll link to those in the description. The cool mechanic? Well, DCC has so many cool mechanics. Mercurial magic, corruption, mighty feats of arms, but today I'm going with Burning Luck. Luck is one of your character's stats in DCC, and you can choose to permanently sacrifice luck points, which will of course affect you in the future, to change any dice roll. So there's my list of 10 great fantasy TTRPGs that are not D&D. There are tons more out there, so please let me know in the comments which games I missed, or maybe which of these you want to talk more about. And I almost forgot, hit that like button. And if you want to check out more about Dungeon Crawl Classics, you can check out this video. We need to discuss the issue of my wages. I don't pay you. Exactly.